This is gonna blow your mind. Nidal Akerkuk was known to some as a businessman. To the untrained eye, he was just another figure in a suit, blending seamlessly into the urban landscape. But to those who knew where to look, he was much more than that. He kept a low profile, but whispers followed him. Whispers of connections that ran deep into the underbelly of the city. Whispers of alliances forged in the darkest corners, where the light of day never reached. Whispers of deals done in the dark, where trust was a rare commodity and betrayal was always a heartbeat away. In these shadowy transactions, Akerkuk was a master, navigating the treacherous waters with a skill that few possessed. Akerkuk at 31 had already built a reputation that was both feared and respected. He was a man who could get things done, no matter the cost. His serious expression and determined stride were a testament to his resolve. He moved within a world of shadows, a world where loyalty was fluid and danger was a constant companion. In this world, alliances shifted like sand, and the only certainty was uncertainty. Akerkuk thrived in this environment, his every move calculated, his every decision weighed with precision. The police knew his name. They had files thick with information, but never enough to pin him down. They watched him, waiting for the moment he would slip, but Akerkuk was always one step ahead. They knew of his ties to organized crime. They had pieced together the web of connections that linked him to some of the most notorious figures in the underworld. Yet, despite their best efforts, he remained an enigma, a ghost in the system. They knew the world he inhabited was one of violence, where disputes were settled with bullets and betrayal was a currency. It was a world where life was cheap, and death was always just around the corner. Akerkuk navigated this world with a cold, calculated efficiency. Akerkuk was a player in this deadly game, but even players can become pawns. Despite his skill and cunning, he was not invincible. The constant pressure, the ever-present threat of violence began to take its toll. He became more cautious, more paranoid, always looking over his shoulder. His life, though lived in the shadows, was about to be extinguished in a blaze of public violence. The streets that had once been his domain were now a battleground. The enemies he had made, the alliances he had broken, all converged in a final, deadly confrontation. The date was November 22, 2024, and the city was Sydney, Australia. A city known for its beauty, its vibrant culture, and its dark underbelly. A city where the line between light and shadow was always blurred. A place where the sun shines bright, but darkness always lurks beneath the surface. In this city of contrasts, Nidal Akerkuk's story was about to reach its inevitable, tragic conclusion. A life lived in the shadows, ending in a burst of light and violence. The BP service station on Cleveland Street in Surrey Hills was busy as usual. Cars came and went, their drivers stopping for fuel or a quick snack. The fluorescent lights cast a harsh glow on the scene, illuminating the mundane rhythm of a Thursday night. For Nidal Akerkuk, it was a routine stop. He pulled up his car next to a pump, unaware that this ordinary night was about to turn deadly. He was a creature of habit, and his routines were about to be exploited. Two figures emerged from the shadows. Dressed in black, their faces hidden behind masks, they moved with a chilling purpose. They had been waiting, watching, their arrival timed to perfection. Gunfire erupted, shattering the night. Akerkuk, caught completely off guard, reacted instinctively. He threw his car into gear, desperate to escape the hail of bullets, but it was too late. He had been caught in a trap, his every move anticipated. The attackers fled as quickly as they had appeared, disappearing into the maze of city streets. Their movements were swift and calculated, as if they had rehearsed this escape 100 times before. The labyrinthine alleys and dimly lit streets provided the perfect cover for their retreat, making it nearly impossible for anyone to follow them. The city, usually bustling with life, now seemed eerily silent, as if holding its breath in the aftermath of the violence. Their getaway car, a stolen Porsche, screamed into the night, leaving behind a scene of chaos and terror. The engine roared as it sped through the streets, its taillights disappearing into the darkness. The car was a blur, a ghostly apparition that left no trace of its passage. Inside, the killers remained calm and focused, their minds already several steps ahead, planning their next move. Witnesses, their senses reeling from the sudden violence, could only offer fragmented accounts. Their voices trembled as they recounted the events, their eyes wide with shock and fear. Some spoke of the sound of gunfire, others of the sight of the Porsche speeding away. but none could provide a clear picture of the attackers, their faces obscured by the shadows and the speed of their escape. The police arrived to find Akerkuk slumped over the steering wheel, his lifeblood staining the upholstery of his car. The scene was grim, a stark reminder of the brutality of the attack. Officers moved quickly, securing the area and beginning their investigation. The flashing lights of the police cars cast an eerie glow over the scene, illuminating the bloodstains and the shattered glass. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder and the chilling finality of death. It hung heavy, a tangible reminder of the violence that had just occurred. The officers worked methodically, their faces set in grim determination. They knew that every second counted, that any delay could mean the difference between catching the killers and letting them slip away. The Porsche, its purpose served, was later found abandoned and burning in the suburb of Kensington. The flames licked at the night sky, a beacon of destruction that drew the attention of the residents. The car was a charred husk by the time the fire was extinguished, any evidence it might have contained reduced to ashes. It was a clear message from the killers, they would leave no trace behind, a deliberate act designed to destroy any evidence that might lead back to the killers. The investigators sifted through the remains, searching for any clue that might have survived the flames, but it was a futile effort. The fire had done its job well. The killers had covered their tracks, leaving the police with little to go on. The message was clear. This was a professional operation planned and executed with ruthless efficiency. The police knew they were dealing with experienced criminals, individuals who had thought of every detail. The detectives gathered, discussing their next steps, aware that they were up against a formidable adversary. The hunt for the killers had begun, and it would be a race against time to bring them to justice. Section 5. Whispers of a Marked Man. As news of the brazen murder spread, those familiar with the city's underworld whispered that Akerkuk had been a marked man. Rumors circulated that a bounty had been placed on his head, a sign that somewhere along the line he had made a fatal enemy. The police, though tight-lipped, seemed to confirm these rumors. They revealed that Akerkuk had been warned of a potential threat to his life just weeks before his murder. He had been advised to be cautious, to vary his routines, but he had ignored the warnings. This was not Akerkuk's first brush with violence. In July of the previous year, he had survived a brazen kidnapping attempt. He had been abducted in broad daylight, bundled into a car, and driven to a remote location. His captors had been ruthless, their intentions clear. They meant to make him disappear, but Akerkuk, resourceful and resilient, had managed to escape. He had fought back against his captors, enduring brutal treatment before finally breaking free. His escape had been a testament to his survival instincts, but it had also marked him as a target. The brazen nature of Akerkuk's murder sent shockwaves through Sydney. It was a crime that defied the city's image, a brutal act that shattered the illusion of safety and tranquility. The streets where people once felt secure were now scenes of fear and uncertainty. It was a stark reminder that even in a city known for its sunshine and laid-back lifestyle, violence lurked beneath the surface. The juxtaposition of Sydney's beautiful beaches and vibrant culture with the dark underbelly of crime was jarring. Residents were forced to confront the reality that their city was not immune to the dangers that plagued other urban centers. The public was left to wonder, if someone like Akerkuk could be gunned down in broad daylight, was anyone truly safe? The sense of vulnerability was palpable. Conversations in cafes and workplaces were dominated by the topic of safety. Parents worried about their children, and business owners questioned the security of their establishments. The murder had cast a long shadow over the city, affecting everyone in its wake. NSW Police Commissioner Karen Webb addressed the media, her face etched with concern. She stood before the cameras, a symbol of authority and reassurance, yet the weight of the situation was evident in her eyes. The pressure to solve the case and restore public confidence was immense. She spoke of the escalating violence within Sydney's criminal underworld, and the very real danger it posed to the community. Her words painted a grim picture of a city grappling with a surge in criminal activity. The police force was on high alert, and resources were being stretched thin as they worked tirelessly to bring those responsible to justice. She vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice, but her words offered little comfort to a city on edge. The promise of action was met with a mix of hope and skepticism. For many, the fear remained, and the question lingered: how long would it take to restore a sense of normalcy? The city of Sydney, with its iconic landmarks and bustling streets, was now a place where the specter of violence loomed large, and the journey to reclaim its peace had just begun. Criminologist and former detective Michael Kennedy offered his expert opinion on the case, suggesting that the public nature of Akercuk's murder was no accident. It was a message, delivered in blood, intended to intimidate rivals and solidify power. Kennedy went on to explain that such acts of violence were tragically common within the illicit drug trade, a world where profit reigns supreme and human life holds little value. He advocated for drug decriminalization and harm reduction strategies, arguing that they were the only real solutions to breaking the cycle of violence. The murder of Nidal Akercuk was a tragedy, but it was not an isolated incident. It was a symptom of a much larger problem, a festering wound on the social fabric. The question remained, would his death be a catalyst for change, or simply another statistic in a never-ending cycle of violence? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. The fight for a safer, more just society had to continue. For the sake of Akercuk, and for the sake of us all.